I'm a big fan of reality TV. I mean, obviously I'm a big fan, but I'm also a big fan of like analyzing, learning about its history, analyzing its impact. So kind of like broader, like what reality TV represents in our culture, and just like I just love analyzing sort of reality TV as a whole. Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I generally cover pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So today I'm going to be talking about the show that everyone's been talking about this month, and that is Squid Game. If you're at all tuned into pop culture, then you've heard of Squid Game. It's the new South Korean Netflix series that has brought about a revival in the battle royale genre. The last time we saw this kind of frenzy for this genre was during the Hunger Games craze in the early 2010s. But Squid Game has quickly become Netflix's most watched series. A lot of the analysis for Squid Game is about capitalism and how it critiques capitalism, how it critiques wealth inequality in South Korea specifically, but in a way that applies globally. But in this video, since my expertise is not economics and capitalism and government, my area of expertise is pop culture, and for Squid Game I saw a lot of parallels to reality TV. So I just wanted to analyze Squid Game with the lens of reality TV instead of capitalism and inequality. It's still very much related because reality TV is a symptom of capitalism. The reason it exists is because of this structure that a lot of countries live under. And just like capitalism, reality TV has a ton of problems. Probably to an outsider, I seem like the biggest fan of reality TV, but I really like to look deep into its problems and sort of how it shows the faults of society within just this one thing. So I'm just going to talk about the different aspects of reality TV that are represented in Squid Game and sort of draw comparisons between examples from reality TV moments or history. So let me just briefly talk about Squid Game and the general premise in case you're unfamiliar. Squid Game is a South Korean series developed for Netflix that revolves around a contest where 456 players in deep financial debt put their lives at risk to play a series of children's games for the chance to win a 45.6 billion won prize. Won is the currency of South Korea. This is from Wikipedia. Apparently the director Hwang had conceived of the idea based on his own economic struggles early in life, as well as the class disparity in South Korea. Squid Game was released worldwide on September 17, 2021 to critical acclaim and international attention, attracting more than 142 million member households during its first 4 weeks from launch. It is Netflix's most watched series to date. So Squid Game has already had a huge impact. I think part of its success is that the message and themes resonate with people of many countries. And it also did a really good job, I think, of visually branding itself in a way that was very intriguing. When Squid Game first came across my Netflix profile, the imagery of Squid Game is very graphic, very bold colors and shapes. So I was immediately intrigued because it looked very colorful and interesting. That branding sort of drew people in, and once they started watching it, they realized the themes are something that's very important right now. Right now we're seeing huge labor movements happening all across the world, so the show really resonated with a lot of people. Obviously, the lens of reality TV gets overshadowed by the larger themes. I think Hunger Games was more specifically commentary on reality TV compared to Squid Game. Hunger Games had more elements of reality TV culture, and I actually owe a lot to Hunger Games teaching me about reality TV and piquing my interest on critiquing reality TV when I was a very young teen reading the books. In the Hunger Games is where I learned about branding and how people are cast on a show to exhibit like one personality trait, and like in the Hunger Games they have to get the protagonist to pick what type of contestant she wants to be, and she has to like stick to that brand. And that opened my eyes to see how every show does that, and they like contestants that stick to one thing. But let me get into Squid Game. We're not talking about Hunger Games here. And let me start with the concepts of surveillance and control. In the Squid Game, while the players are playing and everything and not playing, there's constant surveillance of everybody, the staff and the players. We see a lot of shots of a bunch of staff in a surveillance type room watching every nook and cranny of the complex that they're at, the island, whatever it is. And then on top of just surveilling for security purposes, we also come to find out that the Squid Game is being broadcast to some sort of audience. There will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't watched all of Squid Game, late into the series we get the VIPs that come and watch the final few games. And the VIPs are very controversial, I think, to the fans, just because the acting of the VIPs, they're like Americans and Europeans and Chinese type billionaires. Particularly the English parts are kind of butchered, which I found amusing. Like, I thought it was funny in like a cringy way, but like it made sense that this is what Koreans think Americans are like, and I don't blame them at all. The point that a lot of non-English speaking people that come across these critiques of the VIP characters, Hollywood has like bastardized every language and culture at a certain point, so it's kind of funny to see Americans being portrayed in like a very stereotypy and cringy way. That's my take on that. That's kind of a side tangent. But anyway, so we know that there's some sort of audience for the Squid Games. I don't know if calling the Squid Games or the Squid Game, because there's multiple games, but it's called the Squid Game, whatever. We know there's some sort of audience out there. We know that these VIPs that come in were watching it in some feed they had, and we're not sure as the audience how many other people have access to this feed. Like, the VIPs might just be the richest of the audience of the Squid Games, and there may be other people paying for access just to watch it. They don't get privileges to go there, but they can still watch it. The audience of the Squid Games also has access to seeing them 24/7, sort of in a Big Brother style, with the contestants of the Squid Game all sharing a room at night to sleep and eat and during the off times. They have constant surveillance of the players. And reality TV shares a lot of things in common with this aspect. I don't think we talk enough about how reality TV is responsible for normalizing surveillance. A lot of people talk about the first reality show being this one show called An American Family, which was kind of like almost a documentary, but it was more like a Kardashian style reality show. It was cameras following a typical American family who then became very popular and sort of celebrities for this. But when talking about the history of reality TV, a lot of people don't talk about the show called Candid Camera, which came out way before An American Family. Candid Camera came out in 1948 actually, and was popular through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Candid Camera was a show that's basically like Punk'd, if you're familiar with that. It's a show where they put regular people in crazy situations and they have a hidden camera there just to see what they will do without knowing that they're being watched. This became a very funny and popular show. It made surveillance seem goofy and fun. Before that, surveillance was seen as a very scary and negative thing. Is this when the Cold War started? I'm not sure. Again, I'm not your source for history, please. But Americans and people in general were scared of surveillance. They were scared of that word. It had a very negative connotation. But Candid Camera really came in and switched that up for the first time. Candid Camera came out like right around the same time as 1984 by George Orwell, which is what people are referring to on Twitter when they call any new scary technology Orwellian. So I think the popularity of Candid Camera in the following decades helped to pave the path for normalizing surveillance in a way that nowadays is completely different. So normalized surveillance, which started with Candid Camera, but then went on to, you know, the Big Brothers and America's Next Top Model, and all of these reality shows that have constant monitoring of contestants. This paved the way for social media as we know it as well. If society wasn't friendly towards surveillance, then social media would not have played out the way it has. Once reality TV normalized surveillance, social media took hold of that, and on social media we voluntarily provide constant updates about ourselves in a way that's like we're always being surveilled, not just by like what we know of the app stealing our data, that kind of surveillance, but like we're voluntarily offering up information about our whereabouts or our activities or our feelings, our thoughts, our friends, like we're willingly providing that content on our personal social medias. Our society is comfortable with surveillance at this point. As much as like the word still sounds scary, we don't realize how much we're just living in it comfortably and not thinking that much about it. So I just think the way Squid Game always showed all the surveillance, and that was a big part of it. It wasn't just a competition, it was entertainment for others and also an outlet for them to gamble, which you can do with reality TV too, I guess. I'm not really sure if people gamble about reality TV winners, but rich people probably do, I don't know. Also, a lot of my references in this video might be to America's Next Top Model, RuPaul's Drag Race, Survivor, and The Circle. I'll probably reference other shows too, but those are the reality TV shows that I'm most familiar with. And I see a lot of parallels with all of them to Squid Game. It's funny, when we're talking about surveillance, like in the America's Next Top Model houses, they're always plastered with photos of Tyra. In every single room and corner of the top model house, there are photos of Tyra. So it kind of has this Big Brother, not like the show Big Brother, but like 1984 Big Brother feel to it, because it's like Tyra's always watching you. It's kind of creepy. When I think about it in a surveillance lens, like the top model house really feels like, oh, all these pictures of Tyra everywhere, it's kind of like a threat. It's like, you're being watched, remember. And also sort of wrapped into this section is the element of like control in the Squid Game and in reality TV, and that's kind of like the production side of it. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me with Squid Games was in the games themselves. A lot of the times the set, it was like all this artificial nature where these games took place. So they would like paint the sky on walls, and you could clearly see that they were in a room that was just made to look natural. And I think that's perfect symbolism for reality TV, because it's in the name. Reality TV is supposed to be real, and that's why we like it, because it's real, genuine people with a goal and, you know, competition and all that. But in reality, reality TV isn't that real. Sorry, that's a lot of reels in there, but you get what I mean. Reality TV is produced. The storylines of each cast member or player or contestant are produced. There is a whole staff of crew and story writers and producers and directors that influence the narrative of the season or the show. And I really liked sort of that metaphor of the sets the sets on Squid Game for the games being painted to look real and natural, but being very obviously not real and being very artificial. It was very kind of like, reminded me of the Truman Show type aesthetic, kind of at the end of the Truman Show, but it feels like a perfect analogy for how reality TV is like produced to seem real. They make these elaborate sets for their contestants to be in, a house that's very produced, the way I was saying, like Tyra having pictures on the wall, or how the workroom in RuPaul's Drag Race is very specifically made for the image and brand of the show. The conditions on reality TV sets are heavily controlled. A lot of times when they're off camera, contestants cannot talk to each other because they don't want to miss anything for the show. They are told when to eat, they are told when to get in the car, they're not told any more information than they need to know. They are under these heavy contracts where the show owns all of their image and everything they do on the show. Like if the contestant creates a meme or creates an iconic look, then the show, like RuPaul's Drag Race, can sell a doll of that. There's that great video exposing a RuPaul's Drag Race contract that sort of brings to light a lot of these things. It's by Bussy Queen on YouTube, who's like the resident Drag Race expert on YouTube. The amount of control that the producers of a show have over their contestants is so ridiculously imbalanced, and it's similar in the Squid Game. It's not similar, obviously. In the Squid Game, it's a dramatized version where the staff, which are kind of equivalent to producers, the staff have like machine guns on them, and if anyone steps out of line, they shoot them. And that's not what happens on reality TV, but it's symbolic. It's like they can't go around killing people that misbehave, but they can make their life hell. They can sue them, they can fine them, like they can not invite them for opportunities. Like there's a lot of ways that a reality TV crew can punish a contestant for acting out of line. And it happens all the time. On RuPaul's Drag Race season 4, there was a queen named Willem who was frequently like challenging, I guess, production, and it's kind of unclear what exactly happened, but they ended up just disqualifying that queen from the show and kicking her out when she became too difficult.
You have broken the rules. Rules that are in place to protect the fairness of this competition. Your actions have consequences.
If you are caught playing outside the rules, you will be punished. You will even be punished on reality TV if you're just not grateful enough for the host liking. For example, the whole Tyra Banks, I was rooting for you, we were all rooting for you moment that lots of people know. The blow up was at a contestant named Tiffany who got kicked off and was sort of laughing it off. She was just kind of coping with getting kicked off the show by just being like, oh, I tried my best, like, haha, like, laughing with the other girl, saying, like, don't cry for me, I'll be fine, like, haha. Like, she was just laughing about it. It's to me, seems just like a way to cope with something you can't do anything about. You can't get back on the show, you're kicked off.
Looks can be deceiving. I'm hurt. I am. But I can't change it, Tyra. I've been...
Because she wasn't grateful enough, Tyra called her back and was like, how dare you laugh? We all wanted you to win and you gave up today. And she brought in stuff about her grandma. Like,
Stop it! I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this!
It was this whole thing where it's like, oh, Tiffany just wasn't grateful enough for Tyra's liking that day, and Tyra blew up at her and humiliated her. So I'll get back to humiliation in a sec, but next I want to talk about the aspect of reality TV about preying on the poor and vulnerable. In Squid Game, the game itself preys upon people that are deeply in debt or deeply in need of a lot of money. They offer a life-changing prize to these people with ridiculously high stakes of like your life or death stakes. These people have no options really left in their lives, and the prize is big enough that it's simply worth risking their own life for that kind of money. Reality TV is very similar. It doesn't offer 45 billion won, which I don't know how many dollars that is actually, but it doesn't offer millions of dollars. I mean, some reality TV shows do offer in the millions, but only one, maybe two. Like in Survivor season 40, they offer 2 million. A lot of times the prize is $100,000, $250,000, or $1 million at best. All of those amounts of money are life-changing amounts of money, especially for lower income people. And the people who go on reality TV are often from low income backgrounds, because what kinds of people are looking for a way to make big money? Usually people that need it. Just like in Squid Game, the prize of $100,000 is worth the potential humiliation or scrutiny from the public that the reality TV exposure might bring. So reality TV thrives on preying off these types of people that need this type of prize. And reality TV often casts marginalized people as well as people that are like psychologically vulnerable, like emotionally vulnerable in some way. And it's really ironic because I feel like reality TV has been a frontrunner for showing diverse representation on television. The first season of Survivor had an openly gay man that made it really, really far, I won't spoil it, and really broke stereotypes of the way gay people had been portrayed in media before. For me, watching America's Next Top Model was the first time I saw queer people being creative and influential in fashion and on television. The first time I probably saw trans women represented. And then something now like RuPaul's Drag Race shows and celebrates all these queer stories and brings them to mainstream attention. Also, Black women have been the most influential contributors to reality TV impact. Women like Tiffany Pollard and Nene Leakes are the backbone of internet language with the amount of memorable quotes and memes that they created. So reality TV has put these people on the screen in everyone's home. But at the same time, the reason they did it was to cause conflict. On a show like Survivor, they cast a bunch of country conservative people and then they'll cast a gay man and a Black person just to cause that conflict that would emulate a conflict in the real world. It's a smart thing to do when you want to make storylines and make drama on a TV show. And then it's also like showing diversity, showing more representation than your average other kind of show, like fictional show. But at the same time, you're making caricatures of these people or making characters of marginalized identities or just casting them as tokens. For the longest time, a lot of these shows would have 10 white people and then a token gay person and a token Black person and maybe a token either Latina or Asian person. Like, the representation was still not great, and it was done purposely to cause conflicts with people that were different than them. It's just a weird irony, and I don't think Squid Game necessarily falls under this. I think the comparison here is that the immigrants that are shown in Squid Game, I think, are an example of these types of token type characters that they would cast on reality TV to cause conflict. There's a lot of parallels there with how predatory both the Squid Game and just regular reality TV can be. And like I mentioned, a lot of these people are cast to be one thing. Like in the Hunger Games, they are there to be the blank, the hot one or the nerd one or the Black person, the Latina or the gay person, because a lot of times it's the white people, or maybe in the Squid Game it's the South Koreans. Their brands become like a certain personality trait or like whatever job they do potentially. And then the people that are different or marginalized identities are reduced just to their identity. So whatever their ethnicity is, what country they're from, or whatever it may be. You see people just reduced to their base personality traits or identity. And I just feel like the Squid Game and reality TV have this similarity of offering people a huge prize. In reality TV's case, the opportunity to become famous overnight, but without giving any resources to handle that scrutiny. I'm kind of reminded here about The Circle, if you've seen that show on Netflix. The Circle offers a $100,000 prize for the winner. Towards the end, they often ask each other, what are you going to do with the money? And it's always so heartbreaking to hear what everyone is going to do with it, because it's always something really sad and tragic, and it's just like, oh, I just want to pay for my father's cancer treatments, or I just want to buy my mom a house because she's never been able to. I just want to care for my little siblings. Everyone has this tragic reason that brings it back to like the failures of capitalism and why they're not able to afford these sort of basic things. So just like capitalism sort of preys on the poor, reality TV does the same, because they dangle this big prize in front of people that need that kind of either fame or money, and they're able to make them do whatever they want. So that leads me to the humiliation, which is prevalent in both reality TV and Squid Game. In Squid Game, I think the humiliation part of it mostly comes from the types of games that they're playing. These people are playing children's games and dying if they lose. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing when you boil it down to that. It's like you're playing marbles and you lose and you die. It sounds so stupid, and it's like, oh, I died from losing a game of marbles. Like, what the fuck? It's ridiculous when you put it that way. And reality TV is the exact same way. Like, you had a breakdown because you didn't lip sync to Boom Clap by Charlie XCX good enough. Like, what the fuck? So I think humiliation plays a huge part, and because they're dangling a huge prize over these people, they're able to make them put themselves in humiliating situations and take them extremely seriously because the stakes are so high. And it's unfortunate because the humiliation is disguised as celebration and opportunity for these people. And same in the Squid Game, it's like, we're offering you an opportunity to win billions of won. How dare you not be grateful to be humiliated on this show? Contestants on shows are constantly being humiliated in some way. A lot of these shows have constant criticism from judges or mentors. They have difficult conditions, like on Survivor, being out in the wilderness and trying to survive. They're given near to impossible challenges. When I watch Survivor and see the challenges, I'm always amazed at, like, I don't understand how the people even get through the challenges. Like, there's swimming and there's wrestling in sand, and people are just all cut up, and it's terrifying. And obviously it's humiliating to be on live TV wrestling in mud with other contestants. Like, it's just gross and, like, obviously ridiculous. Also, producers often find the cast or contestants' vulnerabilities and then exploit them when it's the most opportune time to do so. It's the, oh, you're sad you did bad this week? Tell me about your dad that passed away a week ago. And it's just like, they find any vulnerability they can and then use it against the contestant when they need emotion out of them. On RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked in season 6, there's this iconic moment of a queen, the Ganja Estranja, breaking down, having just an emotional break. Her hair and makeup and outfit look so silly, and she's over here having a real human psychotic break. And it's just, like, weird and sad to see that juxtaposition of, like, how silly she looks, like, outfit-wise, and just the deep emotion and humiliation she's feeling.
This is just too fucking much. You broke me down. I feel like shit. I look stupid.
And the humiliation doesn't just stay emotional on reality TV, it also goes physical. The danger on reality TV, like I said, they can't be murdering people when they mess up or something like in Squid Game, but there's a lot of dangerous things that contestants have to do on reality TV that ends up in injury and has a big probability of injury. America's Next Top Model had a ton of super dangerous runways that are so ridiculous. Like, there's a pendulum swing, there's a fire in the hands runway, there's one where they were in a bubble, there's one where they were in a rocky runway on water. One of the models still has a scar from falling on that runway. There was one in season 6 of Top Model where they wore heels like this tall. Almost all the models fell and they were twisting and doubling their ankles. One of them sprained their baby toe. It was just like, why? Like, this is just so ridiculous. You're just walking in these ridiculous shoes for no good reason aside from humiliating contestants for entertainment. That RuPaul's Drag Race, same thing. The cheerleading challenge in season 9 where Eureka O'Hara, one of the queens, busted her knee in this very difficult injury, and she had to go home and come back the next season. There's been several falls and injuries just recently still on Drag Race. And now there's like the dangers of filming during COVID too. that are a whole other element where it's like physically dangerous to be filming. Survivor challenges are extremely physically draining and difficult and have led to a lot of injuries. So the humiliation doesn't just stay emotional or psychological, it's definitely physical too. The reason these people get hurt on reality TV is purely for the sake of entertainment and humiliation. It's a key ingredient to both Squid Game and reality TV. The way like the players on Squid Game would beg for their life when they knew they lost a game or were about to get killed, that's an aspect of the humiliation that also translates to reality TV. I see it often where contestants of reality TV are on the chopping block in front of judges, and they're like crying or breaking down to the judges about why they don't want to go home, they don't want to be the first to go home. And I'm still seeing it now, even on shows that aren't that big, like Project Runway nowadays isn't like a mainstream reality show, but contestants are just breaking down over being one of the first people kicked off. And I feel so bad for these people. They don't want to be humiliated by going or getting eliminated at all. One of the key moments of RuPaul's Drag Race that I feel like this moment sort of steered Drag Race onto its current trajectory. It was season 5 when Roxy Andrews confesses on the runway, she's on the chopping block, that she was abandoned as a child and just has a total raw breakdown about it.
I try to stay so strong, but I'm so weak and so tired.
To the point where RuPaul also tears up and Michelle and everyone is feeling the emotion in the room. And that subsequently leads to one of the best lip syncs in Drag Race history. And there's the wig reveal, and that paved the way for the wig reveals of the future. So I just think that moment was so key, and it was one of those moments that felt like desperation, of like begging the judges in a way to spare you, and it worked for her. Not that that was the reason they kept her. She gave like the most iconic lip sync of all time, but the sort of begging when the contestant is in jeopardy of leaving the competition has some tinge of truth or parallel to the Squid Game, sort of begging for their life to the crew or the staff pink guys. I think the biggest issue with all of this is that on top of humiliation being a key ingredient to reality TV, there are no protections for the contestants. I think because reality TV is so new and it's still being analyzed, and slowly they're trying to make progress on this type of stuff, but there are little to no psychological resources or health care for contestants. There's usually like paramedics at least for physical injuries, so they have that. They might as well have some psychiatrists there to help them. On top of that, there's not many cyberbullying laws in the US or globally to protect the scrutiny. That's a big issue that is kind of new, and there's not much precedent for it, so laws are very behind on this. This has already proven to be very fatal due to the toxic fans, and the more marginalized someone's identity on a reality show is, the more they get hate online, and it has led to very tragic consequences. There was a member of Terrace House, which is a reality show in Japan. That's not even it's not a competition. It's kind of more of a real world style show. Hannah took her own life due to the cyberbullying. Carolyn Flack from the UK, I think Love Island was the show she hosted, met a similar fate. There's just been a lot of mental health consequences for people that have been on reality TV. A lot of PTSD, I think, a lot of just anxiety. That's something that it needs to be helped, and I feel like it's definitely late. Like, it needs to have happened yesterday. Let me move on to the final category, and that is the parallels of Squid Game and reality TV with regards to spectacle. The Squid Game is designed for its audience, its consumers, and so is reality TV. One of the biggest, I think, telling parts of Squid Game was how they insisted that everything about the games was fair and equal. Anytime that was jeopardized, they made a huge deal about it and said, no, like, this is fair and you all have a fair shot at the billion. When it was clearly not true. There was a lot of bullshit rigamores that happened throughout the games where certain players were more advantaged than others. They weren't told up front, like, when they would pick teams, what things they would be for. Making a big deal about it being fair and equal was the lesson, because it wasn't fair and equal. So, like, it's like a metaphor for how in real life, in capitalism, people say everything's fair and equal, but people have advantages. In reality TV, it's the same way. They always claim it's fair and equal. You have an opportunity to be the next top model, the next drag superstar, the next fashion superstar, the next soul survivor, whatever. And fans complain about this all the time. There's often producer favorites of the cast where maybe the producers like how this person comes off, or maybe someone that makes really good TV stays a lot longer than they should. They're not doing that well in the competition, but the judges or producers keep them on longer because they know they're making good TV. This is common in reality TV. It's never something acknowledged. It's always seen as like, we are fair and equal chance for everybody, when we as viewers can tell that it's not always the case. But there's always people with unfair advantages in reality TV too, just like the Squid Game. And then there's the spectacle in general of the cutthroat competitiveness, and it's something that's very fostered in reality TV. In Squid Game, it's obviously very literally cutthroat, I guess. Often the best reality TV episodes or shows or whatever have a lot of like betrayal. One of the most overused phrases in reality TV, aside from I don't want to go home or I'm not here to make friends, is she threw me under the bus. Something about throwing under the bus, it's a staple in any reality TV season with any sort of team challenge or something. It symbolizes all this betrayal and conflict that reality TV thrives off of and that the consumers want. That is the spectacle we signed up for, and we want drama, and we want, this isn't America's Next Top Best Friend. So both Squid Game and reality TV are designed to give us that as much as possible. The amount of betrayals on Survivor are intense, and those are the most fun to watch. You have this guy on season 7 that lied that his grandma died, all of a sudden like crying about it, when in reality the grandma is fine.
I'm ready for performance, sir. Yeah, thank you. Grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer right now.
The fans and the audience loves that spectacle of cutthroat competitiveness, and in Squid Game is the same thing. They wanted the people to betray their closest friends and allies. In Squid Game, when they force teams and they don't tell them what the team is for, that's classic reality TV production. Oh, 2 designers on Project Runway. Oh, team up in pairs, team up in pairs. Everyone picks their favorite person that they think is gonna get them to the top. And then they're like, oh, you're actually making the same color garment and you're competing directly against your teammate. That has happened on Project Runway and happens on reality TV all the time. It was interesting to see Squid Game also had that type of like not giving them information on purpose to cause spectacle and conflict. And then finally, I was very intrigued by how Squid Game presented the spectacle of the finale, because that one felt the most reality TV to me. They dressed up the finalists and gave them like the fanciest, most decadent dinner. So reminiscent of reality TV, like the finales of reality TV will be all glamorous and dressed up and the finalists are all celebrated, but then the finalists have to turn around and fight for the win. Well, I find the finale treatment of Squid Game was so on point. It reminded me of The Circle. They literally have the same format. In The Circle, the finalists go and have a very luxurious, decadent dinner before they all find out the results of who won. Obviously, they don't fight to the death, but it's symbolic of, like, in Drag Race, we have this glamorous red carpet style finale. Then they have to turn around and lip sync against the other and dominate however they can. And it's sad too because the finalists in Squid Game and in reality TV, they're usually bonded, they're friendly, they're potentially allies. They've been through this hard thing together. They get to have this moment of like togetherness and dining and whatever, then turn around and it's still a competition. You gotta get to a winner. And Survivor, it's similar. They give them a final meal before they leave the island. I found that final finale type thing so relatable to reality TV. It was so glamorized when it's like it's still the same dirty game underneath. And then finally, what reminded me a lot of reality TV was the removed criticism from the fans. The VIPs watching the game were so removed from any humanity of the players they were watching. It's a good lesson for us to remember as reality TV fans, not to be toxic, not to be reveling in people's humiliation, not to dehumanize them, not to treat the humans on reality TV like toys or characters. All in all, the Squid Game operates just like a reality show, but just with the highest stakes possible. The VIPs feel like they're like the sponsors of the reality TV show, so whoever's sponsoring the prize, and like the network executives. The front man is interesting because I feel like the front man is like the host. So RuPaul is the front man, Tyra Banks the front man, Jeff Probst, like these are the front man that are answering to these network execs that are like, I want more drama, I want more blood, like whatever. These hosts and other producers have to deliver on what the sponsors want. Obviously the staff, the like pink shape people, they're like the producers and the crew of the show, and then the players of course are the contestants. I'd love to know what you thought of Squid Game in general. I know I didn't go into the story very much in this. I wanted to focus on looking at it through a reality TV lens, but I would love to hear anything you thought about Squid Game. I liked it. I don't like blood and gore, so I closed my eyes for a lot of it. I only wanted to watch it because it did have these themes that can relate to reality TV. So, but yeah, like something I'm like scared about is like, do these things happen in real life? And that kind of freaks me out. I'm like, I could see Elon Musk hosting the Squid Games, to be honest, funding that shit. We know Epstein had an island and all that, so I'm scared that this is a real thing. Let me know what you think of Squid Game in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos twice a week about pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.